Pulling the plug on the pond of insanity. You are listening to Dream Vortex Radio on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, with your host, Chris Vortex. It is the 7th of July, and my guest is Melanie Vritschan to talk about Morgellons disease and how this has affected her and many others. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me on the show.
So what do you think are some things that people should know about Morgellons?
Yes, first of all, not many people know about Morgellons. So what it is, in fact, since I have been dealing with this for the last 4 years, I've studied this quite extensively, basing myself on a report of an environmental toxicologist, Dr. Hildegard Stenninger. It's called the Stenninger Report, where Dr. Stenninger basically describes her research and what it boils down to, what it actually is. It is an invasion of human tissues by a nanotechnology. Now that sounds a little bit like science fiction, but that is what Morgellons is, in short.
And when did this start for you?
Well, it started 4 years ago when I used to work for a satellite navigation program of the European Space Agency. So I had quite a successful life. Was doing well professionally. Everything was going well in my life. I didn't have any particular health problems until one evening when I came home from a professional mission. I suddenly had some very strange material coming out of my skin, and I was very scared. I didn't know what this was, and this was basically the start of it. That was 4 years ago.
I've had some people who are very open-minded to many things, and they, for some reason, they don't accept this this Morgellons. To me, it made sense, and I've looked at it, and I believe your story. So, how has this affected you?
Well, it has had really devastating consequences on my life. First of all, I mean, just the fact, as you've just mentioned it yourself, of having basically this material like seeds, granules, fibers coming out of your body, not knowing what this is, and seeing a lot of doctors, and as you've just mentioned, even the doctors didn't, and having people not believe you, even doctors saying this can't be true. It's so hard to grasp for most of the people that it's very difficult to, basically having a condition that where nobody can help you with, it's not recognized, and being obliged to see so many doctors, and nobody can really help you. And also, let's say I lost my job over this. Well, I didn't really lose it over this, but as my condition worsened, it was quite obvious that I couldn't work anymore with this, and also my personal life has been totally destroyed. I've lost custody of my son. I have enormous financial problems now. So it's been and dealing with a condition that nobody knows and where nobody can help you. It's quite difficult. Yeah. So my life now has nothing to do anymore with the life I used to have before this started.
So what proof have you had so far to show this to people?
Yeah, that's of course an important question. Yes, I have several evidence. So different evidence. First of all, I've seen many doctors, and nobody could really help me. The ones that actually saw this material coming out of my skin couldn't really say that this was delusional or it wasn't there. So those ones said to me that it is definitely something parasitical. So I was sent to the Parasitical Institute in Antwerp, who did some tests and that came back negative for some parasite. So finally, I took this into my own hands, and I went to see a Leuven, in the Leuven University Clinic, a toxologist and the chairman of public health at the University Clinic here in Leuven. And I asked him to analyze this material under the microscope. He did, so we took samples from my skin, and they looked at it under the microscope, and what came back is that it is something which they had never seen before, which could not be analyzed under the microscope, but in terms of evidence, I have at least the laboratory reports that show unknown substance, unknown material coming from the patient's skin that cannot be analyzed or identified under the microscope. So this is the first proof. The second proof I have is, I think, even more important, is that in the process of this, I have joined an organization which defends victims of covered technologies. It's called the International Center Against Abuse of Covered Technology. And I have recently participated in a radio frequency scanning, which means that with a scanner, it could be detected that I emit a radio frequency. This can be measured. So this is the second proof that I have that there is really something there that demonstrates that I could be implanted with this nanotechnology against informed consent, of course. So I have, this is where I am now, and the proof I have.
So, do you have any idea of how this actually came into your body? Do you think that it may be related to your work, or do you think that's jumping the gun?
I had these thoughts, yeah, that it could be related to my work, because I was obviously working in a very high-tech field. So very technology field, very advanced technology. So I don't want to say. I mean, I don't have any proof for this. So I'm very cautious about not jumping the gun, as you said, not to jump the gun. But it is true. It crossed my mind that there could be a link. But I cannot prove this. What I can tell you is that worldwide there have been many complaints. An increasing number of people are complaining about subdermal experimentation without informed consent, which means that these microchips, what they basically are, they are implants. Can be you can get them if you want to, if you receive them by a shot. So in my life, or maybe if you have been subject to a surgery where you are unresponsive, this can also happen. There are various possibilities how you can become a victim of this. I cannot tell for sure what it was in my case or how it happened, but what I can tell you, I certainly did never give my consent of being implanted with this kind of technology and being experimented on against my will. So
do you think that the hospitals may be a part of this?
Well, we know that in some cases the medical field, yes, has been responsible. So I cannot, in my case, it's going to be very difficult to pinpoint the actual date and time where I was implanted with this. But it is true that in the past I had various various times where I had surgery in the hospital for what I was told, a minor thing. So, but it was a general anesthetic. So, if it was there and if it was done there, I don't know, I can't prove, but there was certainly opportunities or occasions where one would have had access to my body, without me being conscious. So it could be that it was during a surgery in the hospital. What I must also say, because I was traveling a lot for my job, is that I recently took vaccinations, also flu vaccines and various vaccinations that I needed to have for the travel I had to do for professional reasons. So did
you have the swine flu jab?
I did have the swine flu jab, but I did have that already when I had Morgellons, because I didn't on my doctor's advice on top of it, because I just had a baby, and she told me, oh yeah, but you're falling in the risk group with a young child, mother of a young child. So I did have that at the time, but I didn't know that I had Morgellons, that it was Morgellons then, but I had already the first symptoms of, so my implantation with this must have had to happen before,
Mm-hmm.
I had various vaccines before this happened, so, but it's going to be difficult to find out where and when it exactly happened, so I don't know.
So, would you say that these fibers are living and growing, or are they just activated from an outside source? Because if it's coming to your body and it's all the way through your body.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, these fibers are basically a technology, and a nanotechnology, very sophisticated technology that that self-assembles and auto-replicates in the body. So I know it's how it sounds. It's not always easy to understand that when you confront it the first time. But let's say this is what happens. So for this process, this self-assembling process, basically to happen in your body, it must come into your body by an outside source. Whether this is via, as I just said, via an injection, via vaccine, or when you were unresponsive during surgery, or just by food intake, this is difficult to say, but it is definitely not. It's something that has been brought into your body without you knowing, without you noticing. So that's for sure. And once it is in your body, it then starts this self-assembling process and basically, grows into this network, nanotechnology network. In fact, Dr. Standinger's report talks about smart stuff. So it's getting a little bit technical now, but in fact, smart stuff is a system of tiny micro-electromechanical systems, such as sensors, robots, and other devices that can detect light, temperature, vibration, magnetism, or chemicals. And it is basically building in your body, it's building up a network in the body. So this is what this is, and of course it has to be brought in your body by an outside source.
So does this grow in a biological way, or is it like a crystal or like a virus? I mean, do we know how this actually grows?
Yes, in fact it uses body material, and the body's energy to grow. So it's basically using, this is how it's, if you want, if it is how it self-assembles and auto-replicates. It's using the body's material for its growth. So
and
it's quite
so it self-replicates. Does it split itself into two, or does it grow like a crystal? Is it sort of biological in the way that it grows, or how?
It uses, artificial DNA to grow.
Right. Okay. Artificial DNA. That's interesting.
Yeah. So it is a very, very sophisticated system. Yeah. So, and the Smart Diagrams project I was just mentioning, basically this hypothetical system of mechanical system, like sensors, robots, basically the system that it builds up, if you want to. We know that it was a research project by DARPA. So maybe some people don't know what DARPA is. It's Deep Defense Agency Research, Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. I don't know exactly. Which basically funded this project, developed and funded this kind of technology, the smart dust.
Okay, so you know patents, and you
Yes.
know, yeah, okay. And so, have you related this to chemtrails then?
Not me personally, but it has been indeed related to chemtrails also. There seems to be a link, because the scientists, I've just mentioned Dr. Hildegard Stenninger, who has done extensive research on this Morgellons nanotechnology. She indeed said that she had patients that had Morgellons, and she had, when she analyzed this material coming out of her patient's skin, under the microscope she compared it to material that she had that came from a chemtrail sample, and this material basically matched. So it was the same material. So there seems to be a link, yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, was, are chemtrail fibers the same as Morgellon fibers? Because we see there's pictures of these fibers coming out of the air, and obviously there's these long trails long trails that come from the back of planes, and what is that?
Yes, so the material, at least, according to her, the material was related, was definitely related. So there seems to be a link there, because, as I said, she analyzed the material that she took from her patient's skin under the microscope and compared it to chemtrail samples, and the material was basically the same. So this could be another way how it comes into your body. If you breathe these particles in, then they also go into your bloodstream, of course.
So they could have multiple ways of attacking you, I guess, with this technology.
Indeed.
Yeah. So does it also affect animals and plants and other things?
Yes, good question, Chris. And it's obvious that, if we suffer from it, then again, because you just mentioned the chemtrails, according to Dr. Stenninger, she said that what she can say is that I remember that on a TV show she was asked, well, so is this some kind of conspiracy program or grand plan to get this stuff into human beings? And she answered, well, I don't know that, but what I can tell you, just to answer your question, is that every life form on this planet, every plant, every animal, every human being, we've all been exposed to this material in some shape or form. So, and it's actually just the doses you have been poisoned with, if you want to, that makes this to materialize quicker in one person than in another. But every life form on this planet according to Dr. Stenninger, who is really the leading expert on this nanotechnology, every life form on this planet has been exposed to this material in some point of their life. So it is really a grave danger.
So are most people just integrating it into their bodies, or are they passing it out, and what is this made of?
Yeah, so what is really interesting is that many people, I've spoken to another radio moderator who interviewed me some time ago, Roxy Lopez, I brought you in contact with. She has a friend who's a microbiologist, and who they have actually, it's very interesting, she told me they analyzed basically hair samples from people or urine samples, or and they checked for Morgellons pathogens. And what was very shocking, I think, is that 8 out of 10 people tested positive. But many people have it, but do not actually, don't have the symptoms, you know. So what it actually makes that it triggers it in the body, how it becomes activated, if you want to, this we don't know yet. It seems to react to directed energy, like microwave weapons, for example, or directed energy weapons. That seems to stimulate this self-assembling and auto-replicating process. You know, so it seems to speed it up. But many people actually have Morgellons and do not have any symptoms yet. And according to Dr. Stenninger, as I said, she said according to her, the actual that it's once it becomes manifest into the body, this is actually linked to the amount of poison, what you have been chemically poisoned with, that triggers this, or makes it quicker in one person than another. But there are many people that are actually infected with it and don't even know that they are and do not have the symptoms yet. So it's a little bit like a time bomb.
So would you say that, or do you understand that in most people maybe it hasn't been activated to grow, but it's there, or
that seems to be the case, yeah.
Mm-hmm, okay.
So
and
quite worrying.
I'm sorry?
This is quite worrying, I think so.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And does it activate itself too, because you had problems with this and you've had a frequency coming off you, so does it self-activate, do you know, or is it activated from an outside source, and how does it work?
Well, what I've read is it seems to be it seems to react on an outside source from directed energy weapons or microwave. That seems to speed up this multiplying process, this self-assembling, the auto-replicating. That seems to have something to do with it. So it must be, something must trigger it. In my case, because you mentioned the RF scanning, the frequency scanning I took part in, the system, if you want to, is already over several years. Basically, it turns into these chips, if you want to, in these implants that I was just mentioning, this smart stuff system. In my case, if you want to, the system is actually already constructed, so to speak, in the body. So this, it is the nanotechnology network in the body has been constructed, and now we could. This is why we could measure that I emit a frequency. So, and and this I share with a lot of people that are victim of this kind of technology. One indicator is, for example, that I constantly heard, and this is why I could guide the person that did the scanning from ISAACT, Lars Stuttgart, to the place where I actually emit this frequency, to narrow it down, if you want to, is that I hear in my ear a constant, whining sound, like a ringing ear, you know. So I knew that there was a device, if you want to, implanted in my ear, and when we did the frequency scanning, we could actually narrow it down to this anatomical point of my body, if you want to. I knew it was my ear, so I could direct him with the scanning device. I could say, it is here. I can hear it, and this is where we could measure the frequency. But in my case, if you want to, the self-assembling and auto-replicating process is completed. The system is fully operational, if I may say so. Which sounds, of course, horrible, but it is the truth.
And did you say what it was made of? Is it silicon-based?
Yes, very correct. It is. It has devices like sensors, robots, and that are linked by wire. So if you want to, it builds up a complex system of wiring in the human body. It really sounds like science fiction, but it is the truth. And it is made of sensors, chips basically, linked with wires, and they can detect light, temperature, vibration, magnetism, chemicals, and it's a network in the human body, and this is what it is. So you will probably ask me now, what is the aim of this? Why would anybody do this to somebody? It is basically to control the person. You know, if you have electronic access, remote access to the person and to his or her brain in particular. So it's very shocking. It sounds probably for some listeners really like science fiction.
So it passes through the blood-brain barrier, basically.
It does, absolutely. And as I said, in my case, we could measure that the frequency came from my head, my ear in particular. But as I said, it's a network, and I can really feel that they are basically microchips, implants. I can feel them on various parts of my brain, of my head. So these nanoparticles have been it could be proven that they have been seen. It has that they do pass the blood-brain barrier, and this is a grave danger. I mean, to all of humanity, I would say. It's basically a weapon. You can control the person remotely via these.
I saw a video yesterday. I don't know if this is relative, but somebody was saying that there was more and more silicon in people's body, but he was saying something to do with us advancing as a species. But I mean, it doesn't really make. He was saying that he thought it was to do with an extra strand of DNA, but I guess in a way he could be right, but more in terms of quote-unquote evolution from the outside rather than us evolving into something greater. I'm not saying that we're not evolving into something greater, but we are being triggered and controlled by other forces as well.
Yes, I see what you mean. Because you mentioned silicon, it is indeed true. I mean that the implants seem to be made out of a material that is silicon, and I I do not have to outline to you that silicon is very dangerous, gives cancer. So it's been proven to cause cancer. And why are these implants so difficult to detect on medical imagery? This is one reason. First of all, it's a nanotechnology, so they're extremely small. But that's not the only reason. This technology has been shown, these chips if you want to be implants, have been shown to have a coating around them that makes them basically undetectable on medical imagery. So you can't just go and have an MRI scan or a CT scan or even an X-ray. And even if you do this imagery, even if they're done in with such material, they are to be classed in the polymers, if you want to, and have a special coating that makes them, and are indeed made out of silicon, or silicon is one of the materials they're made of, that makes it's impossible to detect them on ordinary medical imagery. So it is extremely sophisticated technology. And silicon is a part of it, yeah.
So would you say this is MK Ultra?
I would say it's MK Ultra this, or MK Ultra 2, or even much more sophisticated.
On steroids.
Yeah. It is. It's definitely a follow-up project of MK Ultra. Yeah.
MK Ultimate, maybe. Ultimate control.
Yeah, let's hope it's not going to be what it's not going to be ultimate. That's what we're fighting against. But it is definitely a follow-up project of MK Ultra. It's linked to mind control. It's a mind control project, a control project.
Well, maybe more in terms of its ultimate demise. MK Ultimate.
Let's hope, yeah. We're working on that.
Yeah.
Yes, it's quite terrifying, I must say.
Do you know how they are activating this?
Yes, as I said, you know that numerous victims of the brain implants, if you want to, of this technology, complain also of being victims of directed energy weapons. So, which means basically weaponry testing on civilians. I have read that the at least the multiplication process of these transmitters, of these implants, if you want to, of these chips, this Morgellons nanotechnology, is definitely helped or activated by directed energy weapons. So, and as many victims complain also of being victims of directed energy weapons testing, this would make sense. But it is, of course, very difficult to prove. But I seem to react to sources of directed energy.
So
yeah.
What pains has this brought to your life? I mean, are you in pain 24/7, and how are you feeling this?
Yes, it is. I can say it is really torture. So the main, I know it's a big word, but I'm not afraid of saying it. You are in pain indeed 24 hours around the clock. It never stops. It gives you excruciating headaches. I'm somebody who's never had headaches before. My mother used to suffer a lot from migraine. When I was young, I could never understand it. I was like, I never had one migraine in my life. Now I have them basically 24 hours around the clock. You have, how can I explain this? A feeling of electricity in the body, also 24/7. It's like having a current, an electric current going through, like being tasered, let's say, 24 hours around the clock. You have uncontrolled body movements, which means, for example, right now I'm lying in my bed, and my legs move, like, how do you say, sometimes without me having control over them, so a little bit like you receive an electroshock. You have difficulties concentrating, so it definitely affects your concentration ability. You've got problems focusing. It diminishes your eyesight. You've got changes of vision. I cannot prove this, but victims claim, and it seems to be possible via the technologies, that there are actually even implants that placed in people's eyes, or retinal implants on the retina of the eye, which cause these changes, and also severe burns. You basically you are really rendered, I would say, almost like into an invalid, a person that really handicapped. It greatly affects your physical health, your and also, of course, your psychological state. If you have a condition that is not recognized, you're constantly in pain, and nobody will believe you, nobody will help you. It is also, of course, psychological consequences. So these are the most common symptoms, and as I said, this constant ringing ears, which also really can drive you crazy if you have this ringing tone in your ears 24 hours around the clock, which is very, very unpleasant. So there are several symptoms, and you feel very tired all the time. So you just feel exhausted. You know, it's like you don't have to be an extreme lack of energy, which I never had before. I was an extremely energetic person before, and so it totally destroys your life, and it is physical and psychological torture. And it's just
so, how was your life before, and how is it now? I mean, if you could give a short story of your life before and after.
Oh, my life before was, as I said, I worked for the European Space Agency. I organized satellite navigation events, trade shows. I went to conferences. Was a speaker there often. So I had a very good salary. So I could buy this apartment. I had many friends. I had fantastic health. I ran the marathon. I was very, very happy, in great shape. So I had everything going for me. Then it started, and now I basically live. My life was like black and white. I live a totally different life than I used to live. So first of all, I'm in constant pain. I cannot work anymore. I've got huge financial problems. I did not have very much support, I must say, with this condition from the doctors, from the medical field, because either, as you said in the beginning of this interview, they don't recognize it, or they just can't help you, or they send you to a psychiatrist, or so yeah, big financial trouble, constant pain, and loss of many friends as well, because some of them just don't understand what happened to me. So problems with family, because I mean my family is not here in Belgium, so it's very difficult for them to understand as they're far away what is going on. So I've lost even family members. And the worst thing is that over this, the father of my son, who didn't want my son in the first place when I was pregnant, because he didn't want any more children, and tried to make me have an abortion, has now claimed custody, saying that I was delusional, I had a psychiatric disorder or something, because I thought there was something in my body that could be nanotechnology. and so I was claimed custody and have obtained it on the grounds that I was declared delusional because I believed that I could suffer from Morgellons. So it's a total nightmare, and it's very hard to continue fighting and keep keep up your optimism and your fighting power to expose this basically, and to inform people and make raise public awareness for these horrible crimes that so many people are victims of, and it's very hard to to keep going basically.
How do you see awareness of this at the moment?
How do I see? Sorry.
Do you think the awareness is growing, and are you seeing more support?
The awareness
for this?
Yes, it is definitely growing. So, as I said, I joined ISA-ACT, which is the International Center Against Abuse of Covered Technology, which did this frequency test on me. There are two people, Jessie Vritschan, who's ISA-ACT's president, and also Lars Stuttgart, who did the scanning in London, who also participated greatly, I think, to the awareness rising in giving numerous radio interviews like today, such as today. And we're really working hard on exposing this and raising public awareness on the abuses of these technologies. So I must say I have received quite good support, and I really see a progress there. I also started here in my area. I've started to take contact with the European Parliament, the Subcommittee on Human Rights, with several other NGOs. World Organization Against Torture, several others. So to increase this awareness for the abuse of this technology. So there I do see a progress. I also see that now maybe there's one other organization I should mention, the Morgellons Research Group. Dr. Will Spencer, in particularly, whom I contacted first when this dawned on me that this could be Morgellons. So whereas first when I met people, and also my personal doctors that have followed me and that I've from time to time, it was the other way around. It was me updating them or showing them what it could actually be, because they were clueless basically. But they have now started to get interested, and so now when I speak to people, when I show them Dr. Stenninger's research, the Morgellons Research Group, the International Center Against Abuse of Covered Technology, the video of my scanning, people start to wake up. They start to understand that this is not science fiction, that this is real, that there are many, many victims all over the world suffering from this, and basically most of the time declared crazy or diagnosed with some kind of psychiatric disorder. But they now start to, I do see progress there. I do see people, organizations, people in the European Parliament, the public in general, opening up, understanding what this is about, and that this is real, that it's much more science than fiction, unfortunately. So yeah, there is progress. That is very positive, but we still have a long way to go, I believe, before we'll actually see the first court case, because this is still the ultimate goal. So I'm not afraid to say it. These are crimes against humanity, and the responsible people have to be held accountable. But there is still a long way to go. But I do see progress. I do see the public being more aware. I do see now when I talk about Morgellons, people actually know, even doctors have started to realize that this is a real condition. Whereas first, 4 years ago or 3 years ago, when I started to talk about Morgellons with doctors, they were completely stonewalled. You know, they were like, "Oh, this cannot be." And there has been a change. Yeah. But
so you're having some progress with the authorities, then, are you?
Yes. And I must say, I would like to thank IFACT for this. What has helped me a lot is actually, it's often the case when you can show things really visually. For example, I have, since I've come back from London, and I have received my scanning report, and I have received the DVD of my, the film of my scanning, basically, which I've put on YouTube. So that has helped me a lot in rendering things really visible, and then going back to the authorities and saying, basically explaining them that I have participated in this RF scanning, that we could detect that I emit a radio frequency, and then showing them the film of the scanning so that they could really see that when Lars comes close to me with the bug detector, that it goes off. You know, so this has helped me a lot to convince people.
So really, it's been individuals that have wanted to bring this information forward, and perhaps the authorities, they can't really ignore it, so they have to deal with it the best that they can. And so perhaps outside of the alternative community, I don't know how much support you're really getting, or if it's just people just dealing with it the best that they can.
I think it's very much down to really individuals stepping up. You know, people like Dr. Will Spencer, for example, he came across this a couple of years ago. He got interested in this. He started studies about Morgellons. He contacted the Carnicom Institute, and he joined the Morgellons research group. And it's much about individuals coming together, forming groups, associations, informing people, raising awareness. But the initiative is very much down to some individuals. I mean, like Jessie Beltran, for example, who started the International Center Against Abuse of Covered Technologies. So, and started the initiatives with scanning and raising awareness. So, but then, so it's very much down to the initiative of a few individuals that step up and do something. And but then, as we go further, we have. I mean, I see now in my personal efforts that after talking to the medical field, the doctors, the authorities, many people was first like really looked at, as talking something out of science fiction. After not giving up and constantly not constantly, but being persistent in what you're saying to them in your message, and showing them every time more and more evidence that this could be possible or is possible. Then I really now see a change now in how I am perceived, and So, but I really think it's down to a few individuals stepping up and doing things, and then it's kind of a snowball effect. But I know that if I had relied on the doctors, for example, only to help me, I would either be now in a psychiatric ward or still, didn't know what was going on with me. So it's actually up to you, to the individual that is also the victim, if you want to do all this kind of research, to contact the right organizations, to contact the Morgellons Research Group, to contact the International Center Against the Use of Cover Technology, to do your own research, finding out what you have, and then going to the doctors or authorities or even the public or the press to inform them about it and explain this to people. Had I relied on the doctors, I would never have gotten. I mean, I would have gotten nowhere. Which is, I think, it's quite. It should normally be the other way around, but it is not. It's up to you as an individual to to basically take the right initiatives and prove your case correct. So
how do people know that they have it then? Are there particular symptoms, or is it just that you suddenly have electric shocks through your body and things coming through your skin? What other symptoms would there be?
Yes, I mean there are different technologies, and there are different symptoms also, but there are symptoms that are quite similar. So in my case, this Morgellons technology, the first symptoms was actually not the electric shock, but it was in fact this material, these fibers coming out of my skin, and horrible. That's why I think they must kind of activate it somewhere, because it was from one moment to the other, I felt horrible itching all over the body. I was really feeling like I was getting attacked by an army of insects or so things like pins and needles over the body, as if I was, stung by insects or bitten. So, and then something which is like proper to this technology, the Morgellons nanotechnology, which cannot be ignored, of course. Even some doctors have tried to ignore it, even if they saw it when I was in their office, is that you have actual material coming from the skin, which we now know are in fact debris, little pieces of this nanotechnology that your body tries to push out. So there's something visible there. But that's not the case in all of the technologies. I mean, this is really proper to Morgellons. And then the symptoms are pretty consistent, pretty similar to those who are in general victims of the technology, victims of one or several implants, is that you have indeed these electroshocks, the pins and needles sensation on the skin, like which are in fact little electrical decharges, heat and cold. So that seems to be because many people are, as I said, also victims of these directed energy weaponry testing. So you have once you are subjected. I mean, if you are attacked basically by these microwave weapons, this is a weaponry testing. After some time, 20 minutes, half an hour, your immune system crashes. So you develop symptoms like being very cold or suddenly being very hot, so temperature changes, electroshocks, pain in the body, especially in the head, excruciating headaches. As I said, when you're subject to this radiation, it also, of course, as I said before, plays on your ability to concentrate. So you have difficulties to concentrate, difficulties focusing, short-time memory loss. Red eyes, for example, often, and weight gain seems to be, or changes, fluctuations in weight. Most people take on weight, whereas some slim down unnaturally. Grinding of teeth, gum disease. These are all basically common symptoms, and they are consequences of exposure to radiation. You should not forget that, according to the World Health Organization, an exposure to radiation, like it is my case now, for example, we could locate its device, so I have this technology in me, so I'm constantly exposed to radiation, is a risk-free for getting cancer, especially brain cancer. So this is an extremely, extremely dangerous weaponry, and these symptoms seem to be consistent with all of the people that are victims of this technology, whether it will be Morgellons or another, but these symptoms are what we find in most people, yeah. So it's really, really very, very handicapping in your daily life, and it is really very painful. And, yeah, it's certainly torture. So yeah.
Are there other diseases like Morgellons? Is there anything similar?
Well, I hesitate a little bit saying of Morgellons that it's a disease. It certainly brings upon ill health, but I wouldn't really call it a disease. I would call it, actually the experts now say that they prefer not to call it Morgellons anymore. They prefer to call it advanced nanotech syndrome. So, but some people still call it Morgellons disease because of the symptoms, but it is not an actual disease.
So it's called ANT now, is it?
Yeah, you could call it ANT if you like acronyms. But according, for example, Dr. Stenninger that I was mentioning before, she said she preferred to call it advanced nanotechnology disease, not disease, syndrome, because that's more what it actually is. People are victims of a technology. So I think there's a break. Yeah. Yes, so I met people that from all over Europe or even from the States, so that came to the RF scanning. There were people from the UK, from Germany, from Sweden, from Denmark, from Spain, from the United States, from the Netherlands, really all over, that came to this RF frequency scanning to be scanned. And I think we had about 40 people there, which is quite a high number, considering that we didn't, the scanning was organized quite spontaneously. We did it quite short notice. And so I think it was about 40 people, or maybe just under 40 people. And what is remarkable is that we had over 50% positive rate. So people over 50% came up positive in the scanning, which is quite high. So.
And this scanning was for a radio, for a frequency coming from you?
Yes, that means that these people tested positive for radio frequency emissions, that their body emits a frequency, which is, of course, not normal. The human body usually doesn't, normally doesn't emit a radio frequency. So that is circumstantial evidence, if you want to, that these people are indeed implanted with, with some technology implants.
And how does your story relate to other stories?
My story relates. Yeah, my story relates to that, in that respect, that I was one of the persons, one of the people that came up positive, that had positive radio frequency emissions, which basically, if you want to, together with the laboratory reports from the university clinic, from the toxicologist here, that show that he was able to retrieve material from my skin that you can't identify under the microscope. This plus, if you want to, a report that I came up positive in a radio frequency scan, so where these emissions were measured, did give me a supplementary evidence, if you want to, additional evidence to what I already had, that is basically circumstantial evidence that shows the possibility that I am implanted with some foreign body that emits this frequency. So it was very important for me to participate in the scanning, because it gave me further evidence to prove my claim, which is what I want to do. So people that are there, there are various technologies. I know that I have Morgellons because, as I said before the break, the particularity of Morgellons is that your body actually sheds some material, which do not all technologies have. So this nanotechnology I'm implanted with has this particularity. So, so this is why I participated in this radio frequency scanning, and as I said, I came up positive. So it's very important.
And so what was Lars Budgart's association with this? He was the one who scanned you.
Yes, that's indeed correct. So Lars was there to do the scanning. So he was quite busy because, as I said, we had almost 40 people there. So what IFAC does is they do radio frequency scanning to provide people with this kind of evidence. So and it goes in 3 stages. First of all, we did what we just did in London. We do what we just did in London, which means a radio frequency scanning, basically scanning people to find out if they emit a radio frequency. Then, if people come up positive in the scan, they're still going to need the medical imagery, if you want to match this up. Which means, okay, basically you've come up positive in a particularly anatomical point of your body, then you have to do either an MRI scan or a CT scan or just an X-ray, depending on where you come up positive, to match this where the frequency could be measured, on the point where the frequency could be measured. If then you see on this on the medical imagery indeed some foreign object, let's say, we still have to do the test or redo the test in a Faraday cage, because what the Faraday cage will do is it's going to block out certain frequencies so that when we go to court, which is the ultimate step, of course, that we can be 100% sure that this person emits radio frequency. So that basically they cannot say to us, well, but you could have just measured the frequency that is like somewhere in the air, or, you know. So the ultimate testing phase will be, or step will be, that we redo the test that we just did in London in a Faraday cage, and then we can think about going to court. So it's in 3 phases.
And what are the laws to do with this? I mean, obviously it's a crime,
Yeah.
but what laws are being broken here, do you know?
Well, it is obviously a crime to implant anybody with anything without informed consent. So and this act to implant people with nanotechnology or any kind of technological device without them giving consent, and then torturing the person with this technology, and I must say, which is really shocking and it's really outraging, I think, is that we even had in these tests children that came up positive that means that there had been that is a good evidence or suspicion that they have also been implanted with this technology and then after that tortured by it. So it is of course a crime, and it falls under domestic terrorism. This is terrorism. So it is it destroys any principle, any democracy or any state that claims itself to be a democracy is built upon. So you can basically surveil the person 24 hours around the clock. Then it destroys, for example, also attorney-client privilege. Because how can there be an attorney-client privilege if everything you say is listened to or monitored? It destroys, for example, also the freedom of practice religion in private. Everything can be surveilled, listened into. There's no more privacy, and on top of it, it's torture, it's terrorism. So it is completely and utterly illegal, and it has to be stopped.
So, would you say this is corporations, or should a government, or are governments even a part of this? And where does this where does this lead?
Right. Well, where does it lead? Yes, I would say of course it was difficult to point a finger at someone because it's going to be difficult to prove who is behind all this. But I would, strongly suspect the industrial military complex behind it. And as you say, there have been programs like this in the past that were government programs. So, for example, as you just mentioned, MK Ultra was one of the mind control projects that did actually get taken to court. So, and it was a government program. So, yes, I'd say that it's likely that this MK Ultra program has not been stopped, as we have been told, but has even been further developed. With new technologies that are much more powerful and even much more dangerous than in the past. So, and if you imagine that already in the 60s, there was Dr. Delgado from the University of Yale who did many tests on the scientists. I remember that one is particularly famous, where he implanted a fighting bull with some brain transmitter, and when the bull went into a corrida and into a bullfight, and they showed him the red towel, the scientist, Dr. Delgado, had to push a button, and the bull was basically completely tamed, pacified, and would stop. So if you can imagine that this was already done in the 60s, then it's you can imagine what can be done now with the technology.
So, is your group working with any super soldiers or anyone along those lines?
Well, yeah, the super soldier program. Well, for example, with Morgellons, the particular technology I'm a victim of, I read a little bit, and it's basically, as I explained before, it constructs inside the human body a complex system of wiring. So basically, it's the first step to transhumanism. So basically, to say it plainly, turning the person into a robot. And I know that one of the features of this particular technology is that you can induce testosterone in the body. So why would you, or other biological agents? So why would you? My question then is, why would you stimulate the testosterone levels of a person via this technology? Well, I mean, if somebody has got high testosterone, I think it would make him a good soldier, you know? Or would make him aggressive. So, yeah, I think it's linked to that. Yeah, they want to produce some fighting machines in the, and also you can actually buy this technology. And as I said, in my case, we have found that there are implants in my ears. You can one part of this technology is also something that people call V2K, voice to skull. That means that you can launch audible commands to the person. Now this sounds really like science fiction, I know, but it is totally possible via this technology. So this can be used for war, of course. This technology is conceived for war. So that is how it connects to the super soldier program. And what we're experiencing now is basically weaponry testing. These are weapons on civilians.
So are people being triggered then, and does this even create perhaps compartmentalization within the victim through trauma and behavior changes?
Yes, it's definitely a behavior changing technology, or at least you are able to manipulate the person via a human being via this technology. I come back to the test that Dr. Delgado did. This time it was not with his fighting bull. It was I saw a film where he did tests on cats. So you see basically two cats in a cage that have these transmitters or implants on the brain. So you see the device on the cat's brain, and with this he wanted to show how you can manipulate the animal's emotions, behavior, and basically you see the two cats and they are perfectly peaceful and sitting in their cage, and then he decides to turn a button, and you see that one cat immediately gets very aggressive and starts to attack the other cat. So you will tell me, well, we're not cats, but it has been proven that what can be done with animals can absolutely be done with humans as well. So it is definitely a behavior modification program.
Mm-hmm.
Very scary.
And of course, we have all these emotions, and we can have these different compartments in us, and we can sort of change on a dime, and we're obviously complex creatures.
Yes, very, very much. So, I mean, if you want to, our brain, if you want to, is also a kind of computer. If you want to, a very, very sophisticated and developed computer, and basically placing an electrode, brain transmitter, an implant in the brain is basically a little bit like as if you were hacking a hard disk with an iPod, or I mean, to compare it to something. So, and we are, as you say, very, very complex creatures. And with this kind of technology, it's been proven that you can do anything you like. You can render a person aggressive. You can render a person depressed or sad, or even suicidal. You can even make him hyperactive, or the contrary, lethargic. You can even make a person fall in love with somebody. There are a myriad of possibilities, and the danger of these technologies is so great that we really need to initiate legislation to protect citizens from these kinds of abuses and these kind of abuses or misuses of this technology, which is extremely dangerous and a really threat to humanity as a whole and how we have known it until now. So there must be protective legislation initiated as a matter of urgency.
And have you only tested humans? Have animals also been tested for this?
Good question. In fact, we only tested humans, so at our radio frequency scanning. But as you know, Chris, I don't know how it's in the UK. I believe we have the same laws. At least here in Belgium, in Europe, we already chip our cats and dogs. At least here in Belgium, so we chip our animals. If you take a radio frequency scanner and you run this over your dog, for example, then it will come up with a frequency. It will show you where the chip is. But from what I have heard, it's a different frequency. It's a different. I think the frequencies that dogs, for example, emit, the chips for animals, they have a 15-digit number, and we have 16-digit numbers. I don't know. So it's different, but the principle is the same. So, and it's good that you mentioned this, because I mean I had that thought recently. Is that here in Belgium we were obliged to chip our dogs and our cats. So, and I saw a program about this recently on TV, and where they explained how it was done, so what data they had about the dog. But in fact, the way the journalist explained it, this was explained, I actually had the thought, well, it seems to me that it's less a database for the dog or the dogs, but rather it contains information about the owner. You know? So are we getting into a system where our animals basically we collect data about the owner, about the human, and then there's the other thought I had is are we starting with the animals, to then extend it to humans? I saw also a program recently of one scientist that was working for DARPA, who was testing what they call the robo-rat. So again, basically the rat that lives in a cage the whole life had this kind of device on its head, basically electrodes, and was controlled by remote control. For example, to climb down a steep ladder, which this animal, which normally lived in a cage his whole life, wouldn't do. It would naturally not do it because it would be scared. It would be its natural instinct would to tell him not to climb down there that way, because it could hurt itself. But via this technology, it could be just quite very easily maneuvered into climbing down these steep stairs. So, what can be done with an animal can be done with humans. So it is very, very dangerous technology, and as I said before, we urgently need legislation to protect us from these kinds of abuses. Otherwise, we run the danger. We really, it's not exaggerated that we run the danger that we arrive in a situation where we all are basically biological robots controlled by an outside force, and that would be a really terrifying future, I think.
Agreed. Well, I don't watch much TV at all, but I caught 5 minutes of a television program not long ago, and there was an emotional story about birds being eaten by cats. But then they went on from there to talk about how the cats should be chipped and have cameras around their necks. And then I was thinking, well, these cats are going to go into all sorts of people's gardens and see all sorts of people's houses. So,
so you mean like a walking spy tool, or that's what? Yeah, that's a good thought. Actually, I mean, what people need to understand is what I said before, that this technology which I am fitted, and many of the thousands of other victims in the world have become victim of. Actually, it is what people need to realize is, first of all, as I said, it destroys every principle any democratic country in this world is built on. And also, as you just said, we are walking surveillance tools. You know, with the chips in my ears, everything can be listened in, everything can be heard. And as many victims claim, and the technology actually does that, you can see that in the patents, there are even, in some of the victims, micro cameras, or the technology has the possibility at least to install micro cameras in your eyes, which means that they can see in real time what I'm seeing, which is absolutely frightening. And what it means that we really transform humans into walking surveillance equipment, which is it's worse than George Orwell, I think, 1984. So this really has to be exposed. Public has to be made aware of the great dangers and abuses of this technology, which, as I said, it's not a new phenomenon. I mean, there was MKUltra, Dr. Delgado's research related from the 50s and 60s, I believe, but it has now reached an extent and a degree also of sophistication in the technology that is really truly frightening. And we really need to work together to preserve our freedom and our basic fundamental rights, which is not to be equipped with some kind of technology device and consequently tortured with this, and everything can be surveilled. And so where do we go with this? You know. So this is why I'm here tonight.
Yeah. Well, this is great, and I think we're covering a lot here. Somebody sent me something. It says Minister. I don't know how to say that. States in her report that extremely troubling signs from India's Bihar state were first noted by Russian authorities on 16th of June, when over 18 children died in a single day, between bringing the death toll from this mysterious disease to 174. Unofficial sources, however, put the death toll to 203. Coinciding with these mysterious child deaths, Minister Skotsova says was the near immediate closing of 2 textile mills in Bihar that were working under a contract with the Aryabhata Knowledge University, one of the leading research centers for nanotechnology in India, where fabrics were being impregnated with silver nanoparticles.
Well, I don't know about this particular case. It's certainly shocking. But what I do know is that, the vaccines, I mean, they seem to be one possible vector on how to get implanted with this kind of technology. And these microchips And what I can say is that I work in close cooperation with one of the leading civil rights organizations here in Belgium, which is called the Belfort Group. And so, because you were mentioning chemtrails early on, so Mr. Peter Verreke, who's the leader of this group, he works on chemtrails, so he's a chemtrail activist, but he also works on vaccines, so, or let's say to raise public awareness of the danger of these vaccines that have been shown to be basically one of the vectors of getting, or we can get the nanotechnologies via vaccination. And I had recently a case, really not far long ago, where there was a perfect, healthy little young boy that was born. It was a baby, and he never had any health problems, and he was perfectly healthy. He did have a little flu, and so this was the time, I think, when he was 3 months old, where the vaccines, where they started vaccinating children, basically. So, and his mom said that, well, he is a little flu, so I'd rather he is not vaccinated, you know. And the doctor said that, oh, that doesn't matter, and still gave him the shot. And within a few hours, the baby died.
Terrible.
Yeah, so there was, of course, an investigation done and so on, because, I mean, okay, he had a little flu, but he was not particularly sick before, everything was fine, and then he gets a shot and he died within a few hours, and the investigation was opened, and finally they came to the conclusion that, of course, it has nothing to do with the vaccine. And that was, of course, tragic, but basically investigation closed and tragic death. So, you know, it is, though, very, very suspicious and very strange that a perfectly healthy boy dies almost immediately after receiving a shot, you know. So
well, who would gain from that? That's the thing. Who would gain from this child dying like that? That's it's like there's some cult that wants people to be controlled.
Yeah, I mean these vaccines. They were. I quote on this Dr. Rauni Lena Kilde, who is also somebody that's very active in the fight against mind control, against this remote control technology. She has written several papers on it and spoken out publicly. She used to be, I believe, the former Finnish Minister of Health, or worked in the Ministry of Health. Anyway, she said that vaccines used to be good in the old days, you know, but right now it is unfortunately, and that really made me wonder, especially as I go through this Morgellons nightmare at the moment. I was thinking about my own son that I have basically unfortunately lost by the custody procedure. That I gave him all the vaccines that were basically prescribed, and she said that vaccines used to be something really good in the old days, but right now you can be almost sure that when you get your child vaccinated dead, there is a microchip in it, and they're also extremely toxic. So that's left me with a very, very unpleasant feeling, considering that my son got all his vaccines. Because that means that the children are already chipped from when they're a baby, basically. So, and the toxicity of these vaccines has increased to a level that they are really dangerous. So for me, there's certainly a big suspicion that this child's death is linked to the vaccination you received.
Well, did this child only have one vaccination, or how many?
It was the first one, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
And his mother said that she didn't want it because he was, on top of it, as I said, he had a little flu. And the doctor decided that that wasn't going to influence the vaccination, or didn't matter, and still vaccinated him, and as I said, he died.
Well, that's that's potential murder, isn't it?
Yes,
I guess.
it is murder, yeah. Mm-hmm. In fact, when Peter Verreke called me to inform me about his death, he said, well, there's a child death with this, and he died, he passed away, and I said, as you said, I couldn't help it. I immediately said, you mean he was murdered?
Mm.
And he said, well, that's what we're investigating. But it is certainly very strange that he died that shortly after receiving the shot.
Well, it is like a cult that's within our society which needs to be removed pretty fast, and it needs to be identified for whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah, I think with the radio frequency scanning, we are on the right track. It will still be a long way, but I personally, as I just talked about this custody battle, I mean, it's very hard for me that I never had any problems with the police or lawyers or whatever, and now I found myself in the middle of this custody battle, and lawyers and whatever, and even police. But what was very interesting for me to see is that, at the police, because my ex-husband, unfortunately, not only he claimed custody, which on the grounds that he said that I was delusional, which he got, but before that we had a court judgment, basically shared custody, and he never respected that. So he often on weekends he wouldn't show up with my son, and I found myself having to go to the police station regularly to report to them that again he hadn't come with my son, and I had no clue where he was. And what I found interesting is, this is why I mentioned scanning, is that recently I had to go back there because now he has obtained custody. I have gone into an appeal, so we've just started, but at the moment he has full custody, and I can only see my son 1 hour per week in some kind of center for basically mad parents, or dangerous parents, or delusional parents. So at the police they also have a child, anything like a unit, if you want, that deals with anything that what concerns custody cases or youth and children. And I always had very good contact with this police officer, and she recently called both of us to say, okay, well now there's judgment. I know that Ms. Vritschan has gone into appeal, but I need to check how this judgment is basically respected. So she interviewed both of us, separately, first him, then me, and when I met her last time, she said, well, it's all good, and I don't understand what happened, but she said, there's one thing though I would like to discuss with you. Your ex-husband regularly comes here to tell me that you're completely delusional because you think that there could be some kind of nanotechnology in your body, or I don't know exactly, but she was basically asked what's this about, So I said, okay, well, this doesn't really have anything to do with the custody battle, but as you asked me, I will answer. So I explained everything, the condition I suffer from, Morgellons, what it was, and ISA Act. I briefly explained that we did this radio frequency scanning, and that we could detect that I emit a radio frequency, and I showed the ISA Act website and at my scanning video. And she's a police officer. Okay, she's dealing with youth issues, but she has a training as a police officer, so she does know what a radio frequency scanning is. So, and that's used in crime investigation. So I said, well, basically, you could demonstrate that I admit this radio frequency. And she looked at me and she said, so this is not at all a delusion. So I was really pleased, Chris, because, I mean, I've heard delusional so many times, you know, that I already expect that people won't believe me. But she did. And she said, well, that's very good. So I guess you're going to show that in the court case, you know, because that's going to take out his argument that you are delusional and that you should get custody. So I said, well, yes, of course I will talk about this. In fact, I wasn't gonna bring that up or show this kind of evidence before we hadn't done the test again in the Faraday cage. But okay, we have this custody battle going now, so I don't have a choice. So I will talk about it, you know, even though this goes about the custody, it's actually, but okay, it should, let's say, take out or at least weaken his argument that I'm basically crazy, you know. And even the police officer working for youth issues here at the police understood what positive radio frequency scanning means. You know?
Very good.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was
But not everybody's completely mad then.
Yeah. So I saw even on her face expression changed when I explained this, you know? And then I showed her the video, and I said, well, you know, let's go on the internet, and I showed her the video so that she could actually see the bug detector going off when I approached it. So, but I mean, before already when I said radio frequency scanning, I came up positive. She, you know, she's a police officer, so she got it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how this goes, but I don't know yet if the court will accept it. I mean, especially if this is a custody battle. But I mean, as his argument is built on, she is crazy because she thinks she's implanted with some kind of nanotechnology. Give me the custody, then hopefully, if I show that there is evidence, or at least circumstantial evidence, that I am indeed implanted with the technology, and I'm not crazy, I hope that I can get my son back. You know. So, but we'll see.
So. How does this? I listened to another interview where you were saying that your knees had been moving in an erratic way.
Yes, that's not only mine. I mean, it's one of the symptoms, because we were discussing symptoms before. It's actually that you have uncontrolled body movement. So let's say you it's because of this electricity in the body. As I said, there are really electroshocks, you know, attacks your nervous system. And so that means that you've got muscle twitches or uncontrolled body movements because of this, this electricity basically in your body. It's basically like when you're tasered or the reaction, the nervous reaction of your body to these electroshocks is that you've got uncontrolled body movement, for example. So, which is very frightening. It's also one of the symptoms or one of the dangers. What can happen or has happened to some victims is actually foot drop. It has happened to me once. I can tell you it's very frightening. It's really, I was walking completely normally on because this can cause seizures, that can cause heart attacks, it can cause all of kinds of very, very grave, serious health problems. In my case, and what happened is I was walking in the street completely normal, and suddenly I lost control of my I mean, you have this electricity in the body all the time, so that you kind of, I don't know if you can say you get used to it, but I mean, that's constantly there. But I mean, I was walking normally, and I lost control of my feet, which means I fell on my bum, if you want to, and everything. It was like I saw it was like a tunnel version, you know. I mean, and I thought in that moment I was going to die now. It's like almost like you switch off the current. So I fell down, and I felt myself on my I fell down, And it took 3 seconds, and then kind of the light came back, if you want to, and I could get up normally, and I continued my way, but I lost complete control over my feet at that moment, and I believe now, after when I look back, I might have experienced a small seizure at that moment, you know, and it's very scary. So that means if via this remote control technology, somebody, you know, an outside source, as you said, can control you as a robot. So if you do something or go somewhere what the person doesn't like, you can basically be brought down to your knees in a second. You know?
Wow. Yeah. It's like the rat in a maze, I guess.
Yeah, it's really, really, yeah. It's very, very, very dangerous and very frightening. So
if you want us to go to a conference to meet somebody, then they could activate here.
I guess so, yeah. You know,
I was just thinking, you mentioned artificial DNA, and I was just thinking whether that artificial DNA might interact with the human DNA.
It certainly does. So what it actually does is not what I've heard what Dr. Stenninger said, and I can tell you for a fact I've experienced that, is that at one point, I mean, people that it does actually definitely change your DNA codes. It modifies it, or that's for sure. Also, Caroline Carter, Roxy Lopez, friend that I've just mentioned, that is this microbiologist who examined hair samples, skin samples, serum samples of Morgellons patients, or it says that it definitely changes your DNA, so there's no question about it. It also, Dr. Stenninger said that in one interview, I believe, that I heard, is that, and I have experienced that, that at one point really I had my hands and feet, the skin was peeling, and this was very painful. So and it was actually covered with a new skin. My skin now looks very different from my skin. How it used to look, also in tone. I was usually always very tanned. Now it's very white, and also the cell structure, the skin structure, everything changes. And Dr. Stenninger said it builds up something like a real plastic skin. So what it does, and what I suspect it does, and I mean it definitely changes your DNA, is that it is actually cloning your DNA. So that is a crime. That is a documented crime. I mean, there is legislation against that, and it definitely it's been proven that it changes your DNA. So yeah, I don't know if I take it from that angle.
Yeah, it's scary positive. It actually did integrate within your DNA, and then it's a scary thought.
Very, very scary. Because what could be more personal than your own DNA, right? So
yeah,
and that is a crime. It definitely is a crime. So, but unfortunately, those who have developed this at the moment, they have gotten away with it at the moment. So, although we have a few court cases of people like James Walbert, Dave Larson, Bob Boyce, a few others that have actually been successful in, well, first of all, removing the technology, a few cases, and also had won a court case. And I think in the case of James Walbert, I believe he also got a protection order against his aggressor, so he could actually, the culprit could be found if you want to. And So a few cases have had positive results or have won their court cases, but it is still rather a minor amount of people. So, but yeah, let's hope that if we raise awareness, if we continue raising awareness for this, and that we can be successful ultimately in getting the support and because it is one of the worst crimes, I believe, ever committed in history, almost. And it is done in complete silence, and people are not aware, but it is happening, and it is a very, very big danger to humanity.
Yeah, it's a silent weapon, and people aren't seeing it, but you're getting test results, so it seems that the proof is there, and if people are starting to see that and are starting to hear about it and talk about it, it's not being just rejected as some vague thing that people talk about and try and make theories of. This is something that's really affecting people, and there is this nanotechnology, and if we've got drones flying everywhere now, and TSA in America and everywhere else patting people down and putting people through scanners, this is a real issue of our times, and it's coming in fast, and I think it's maybe ready that people take this on board, because it's really becoming in our face and in our bodies.
Yeah, face and bodies. I agree, and I think we're on the right track. We're doing the right thing, and the most important thing is that we raise awareness for this, and then we can, united we win, as one of our common friends would say. And so this is also why I would like to thank you to give me this opportunity of this interview, because it's only in informing people and raising public awareness that we can bring this to an end, and that we can find solutions.
Yeah, it's a fabric of information. You just need to link it all up, and then people see it.
Yeah.
And it's like I said to you yesterday. Well, you were saying that it's like an electronic prison, and I said it was like a prison living inside of you. So yeah, it's an electronic jail.
Yes, and it really is like an electronic jail. It is an electronic jail, and so what we all want ultimately is, of course, the removal of the technology and protective legislation to make these kinds of abuses, to outlaw them. And it is, I believe, really now, as we say in German, 5 to 12, which means we are really already, it's extremely urgent. We're, I hope it's not already too late to save humanity, but we can still save it if we all step up now, and I believe that only a public outcry of, as I said, basically individuals that step up and raise awareness for this and say we will not accept it, can bring the solution and the ban of this technology and protective laws to make this kind of abuses impossible and to save humanity, and to make this a better place for the children of this world. That they don't want to live in an electronic jail, and we certainly have to do everything we can to prevent this from happening.
Yes, absolutely, and they've got cameras and all the tools now, and there's obviously cameras everywhere, but the children have got no. They can't really be children, and I mean, like, how do you spell happy?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it really breaks my heart if I see, for example, my own son. I mean, first of all, he's now with his father, who didn't really want him in the first place, but he doesn't have his money anymore. You know, I mean, I am still here, I'm still alive, but I am not really present in his life, and I'm also very, very tied down with my own problems, with my health problems, with Morgellons nightmare. And finding solutions and going to scannings and raising awareness and also basically being in pain 24 hours around the clock. So I cannot be the mother I would have been and the healthy, happy individual I used to be. You know? So my son is already a victim of this, and I do not want any more children to to become a victim of this, or even being a victim themselves. As I said, we even found a few children that were implanted with technology. And 5 years of age or even younger, I mean, this cannot be. We have to stop this. We really, really do.
Yeah, I think it's time for that. And we need to find a way to deactivate perhaps this artificial DNA. I don't know how that can happen, or...
Yeah, I don't know if they can cook up a cure for this, or I don't know, but the first step is the removal of the technology.
Yeah, has that, have people done that yet? Been able to do that?
Yes, I believe in the case of David Larson, he I think he had the same kind of implant than I have. He did remove it, but unfortunately there are still residues, which means there are part of the technology that I could not even remove. So what can be removed, has been removed, but parts of it are basically unremovable.
So far.
So far.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully people are going to do a lot more research on this in the near future, and we can find ways to cure this, I guess. But we've only got a minute left, so would you like to give out some contacts and websites so people can find out more and contact you if they believe they have Morgellons?
Yes, to sum up, the websites I think that are important. They should consult our Morgellons Research Group, all in one word, .com, and they can turn to Dr. Will Spencer. I think it's very knowledgeable, and if they fear that they might be implanted with an RFID device, if they want to participate in one of the scannings, for example, or just want to know more about the abuse of this technology, the website is International Center of Against Abuse of Covered Technology, ICAACT.org, and there they can find more information, and they can also see when future scannings are organized, if they would like to participate in one.
Okay, well, thank you for coming on. This was a really great show, and I hope this has helped your cause. So thank you, Melanie.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. I very much enjoyed it.
You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com.